everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Noor and thank you so much for joining me in another video. So today I have a March book haul for you guys. So if you guys are wondering where do I get all of my books, I got my books from this app called Carousel. And it's a Singapore-based app where you can buy and sell stuff. It's like eBay or Gumtree if you ever know that sort of site. And so I buy most of my books from there. And it's all secondhand, it's all really cheap. So yeah, good, win-win. I have 9 books to share with you guys. And out of these 9 books, 1 I got for free. So technically I bought 8 books. So that's okay, right? Okay, so let's get on it. So the first book that I got, which is free, is The Endless Steppe by Esther Hautzig, and I got this book from my sister's school. Her school has this book exchange thing and you can get free books when you donate books. I saw this on the book donation bookshelf and I thought that it is really cool. It's about this author, Esther Hautzig, who was 10 years old when the Russian police arrested her family, and so she and her family was exiled to Siberia during the Second World War. And if you guys know me, I love anything got to do with the Second World War, and I like to read about history and just try to get more information about the World War. So when I saw this, I'm like, yes, please give it to me. The next book that I got is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, and I have read this already, but I didn't have a copy because I borrowed from the library before. And Franz Kafka is one of my favorite authors. I really like his writing. It's so dark and interesting and I really like it. And his stories are very closely related to his life. So that's what I really like. Metamorphosis is basically about this story of Gregor, who is a salesman. He had a nightmare one night and so he woke up the next day and he found himself turning into a bug. And he was scared crapless. He's a sole breadwinner, so he's trying to figure out how he has to go to work when he's all bugged. Wow, that's buggy. This book also contained another story called The Judgment, which I haven't read, so I am very interested to be reading The Judgment. So it will be a reread for me for the Metamorphosis and it would be a new read for me for The Judgment. So I am really excited for this. The next book that I got is Into the Wild by Krakauer. Basically, Into the Wild is a story of this guy who just graduated. He is from a very well-to-do family and he doesn't want to go out there and work, I think. So he went on hitchhiking to Alaska and unfortunately he died a very tragic death. So basically this is a story of him hitchhiking to Alaska and how his body was being found at the end. It's going to be a tragic book. I do know that because it says in the synopsis. I heard a lot of good things about Krakauer's writing, so very excited. Next on, I got Confessions of a Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. This is one that I am dying to get for a very long time. I have watched the movie for Confessions of a Shopaholic. I love Fisher. She's so bubbly and funny. I watched that movie many times and it's one of my favorite movies ever. If you don't know what's Confessions of a Shopaholic, it's about this girl who is a shopaholic and she has problems because she's in debt. She went on to get a job at this company called Successful Savings, which is quite ironic because she's a shopaholic and in debt. So she has to write a column about savings, and at the same time she met her boss. Things happen. So this is my first Sophie Kinsella. This is my first Sophie Kinsella book. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how she writes. Next off, I got Elizabeth is Missing by Emma Healey. And I have seen this in YouTube lingering around for a while. And basically this is a story of how this lady named Maud, she's in this old folks home and she's forgetful, she has Alzheimer and she couldn't remember anything, but the only thing that she could remember is Elizabeth is missing. And she keep on saying that Elizabeth is missing, Elizabeth is missing, and they were all wondering who is this Elizabeth and why is she missing. I am super excited and very interested to read this. I like old people stories. If you want to know, I like old people's stories. One of the old people stories that I read and really loved is The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. It's like old people and it reminds me of my grandparents, so I hope this is something like that, although it's a little bit scarier, I think. I'm not sure, but yeah, really excited. Next up, I got The History of Love by Nicole Krauss. And this I didn't get from Carousel. This I got from a secondhand bookstore, and it was a lucky find because I was just browsing at a secondhand bookstore and I saw this for $3 and I'm like, yay! I've heard a lot of good things about this. It is a story of this girl named Elma Singer. She's 14 years old and she's trying to find a cure for her mother's loneliness. She found her mother's old book, and this old book is something that her mother was trying to translate into her language, I believe. And at the same time, there is this old man called Leo Gursky, and he is moping around and he spent his days dreaming about his lost love that was 60 years ago in Poland, and that lost love inspired him to write a book. So I think there's a lot of cross paths and relation towards the book. I am super interested to be reading this. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. I've never read anything from Nicole Krauss, hence I am very excited. Next up, I got Oliver Sacks' Musicophilia. This I didn't get from Carousel either, but this is from a bookstore at the airport. And there is this bookstore in the airport that sells half-priced books. Some of them are like super cheap, and it's so exciting because I like to go there and I like to just rummage through their bookshelves and see what they have. Whatever is there. They don't have restocks, so I was very glad to have found this. This was like the only book left. So I'm like, yay! Oliver Sacks is a neurologist, and Musicophilia is a book that tells you how does music impacted people in their everyday lives. And he talks about his patients that has events happen to them that made them have unusual musical talents. What I like about his writing is that it's very easy to read for someone who does not learn psychology or neurology, and it's very easy to read for the general public. So I am very interested to see how music affects people's brains and their everyday lives. I have two packages that I want to open, so let's open this up first. Trash. It's The Glass Castle by Jeannette Walls. I've seen this around in YouTube, and it's a memoir of Jeannette Walls. It's her memoir of how she grows up and how her father was very abusive and how she grew up in a very abusive family. Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about this book, and I am into memoirs very recently. I like to read about people's life. And the last package is this. Ready? Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. What? This is basically a story of how Nick Dune wakes up one day and found out that his wife is missing and possibly dead, and he was accused of his wife's possible death. He didn't know what happened. He knew that he didn't do it, so he's like wondering, I never did it. It's not my fault. You got the wrong guy. So I am very excited to be reading this. I have watched the movie. I loved the movie. So guys, these are my 9 books that I have acquired for this month. I am super excited to be reading all of this. So tell me in the comments down below if you have read any of this and if you enjoyed it, if you loved it. Subscribe to my channel to get updated to all the things that I have posted into my channel. Until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. Chill out!